Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to journey to a world of spice and sandworms.
Always up for an adventure.
This deep dive, we're taking on Frank Herbert's Dune, a book often hailed as a sci-fi epic on par with The Lord of the Rings.
It's a classic for a reason, that's for sure.
Right. But before we go full on Fremen, let's set the stage. Imagine a harsh desert planet, Arrakis.
Not exactly vacation destination of the year, huh?
Not unless you're really into spice.
Yes. The spice melange. It's what makes Arrakis the most valuable place in the universe.
Okay, back up a sec. Spice. What's so special about it? Like, what is it?
Imagine a substance that extends your life, sharpens your senses, even makes interstellar travel possible.
Okay, that's some powerful spice. So whoever controls Arrakis controls the spice trade.
And essentially, the galaxy. It's a recipe for conflict, which is where things get really interesting.
I bet. So who are the major players in this galactic Game of Thrones?
Well, you've got two powerful houses vying for control. House Atreides and House Harkonnen.
And I'm sensing they aren't exactly best friends.
Let's just say there's a lot of history between them. And sitting back, watching it all unfold, is the Emperor. He's the one who gives control of Arrakis to the Atreides family.
I'm already getting some serious Game of Thrones vibes here. But it's not just about these powerful houses, right? There are the Fremen, the native people of Arrakis.
The Fremen are key to the whole story. They've adapted to Arrakis in incredible ways. They live in harmony with the planet, respecting its resources.
Including those giant sandworms. Seriously, those things are terrifying. But also kind of awesome. Like giant sand-dwelling dragons guarding a treasure.
Well, they are guarding the most valuable substance in the universe. Herbert definitely blends those fantastical elements into the science fiction really effectively.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, so you've got this epic backdrop, but at the heart of it all, there's Paul Atreides.
Paul. He's no ordinary hero. He's got prophetic dreams, strange powers, and the Freemen see him as a kind of messiah figure.
Right, this Muad'Dib. I've also heard about this mysterious group, the Bene Gesserit. They have these incredible mental abilities.
The Bene Gesserits are fascinating. They're this powerful women's order, and they've been pulling strings behind the scenes for centuries. They have their own plans for Paul.
This is all getting very intriguing. But I have to ask, what inspired Frank Herbert to create this complex world? Like, where did the idea for Dune come from?
Believe it or not, Herbert got his initial spark of inspiration from something pretty unexpected.
Don't tell me. Sandworms in his backyard.
Close, but not quite. It all started with actual sand.
Sand? Seriously?
Yeah. Herbert was researching ways to stabilize sand dunes, especially those on the Oregon coast. Fascinated by ecology, he started imagining a planet completely covered in sand, where whoever controlled the sand controlled this vital resource.
Wow, talk about finding inspiration in unexpected places. It adds another layer to Dune, knowing that it has roots in real-world environmental concerns.
Absolutely. He was writing about climate change and resource exploitation before those ideas were even mainstream. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, especially since Dune came out in the 60s, around the time we saw the first pictures of Earth from space.
You know, you're right. Those images changed everything. They really drove home the interconnectedness of our planet, and that's something I see reflected in Dune, especially with the Fremen and how they've adapted to Arrakis.
Exactly. The Fremen aren't just surviving on Arrakis, they're living in harmony with it. They understand the delicate balance of that ecosystem, the importance of the sandworms, the need to conserve water.
It's such a stark contrast to the Imperium, which seems to be all about control and exploitation. Which, come to think of it, is another big theme in Dune, right? The dangers of unchecked power.
Absolutely. We see it on a grand scale with the Emperor and his manipulations, how he pits House Atreides against House Harkonnen.
And it makes you wonder about Paul Atreides. He's presented as this potential messiah figure, but can he resist that corrupting influence of power? I mean, the Freemen are putting their hopes on him to lead them to freedom, but at what cost?
That's the big question, isn't it? Herbert doesn't make it easy for us. Paul's journey is full of difficult choices, and some have devastating consequences.
And then there's the Bene Gesserit lurking in the background with their own agenda. They've been working for centuries to achieve their goals. It makes you wonder, do they really have Paul's best interests at heart?
Right. Are they guiding him toward a greater good, or is he just a pawn in their game? And what does that say about power, even when it's wielded with seemingly good intentions?
We've covered so much: ecology, power, prophecy, even a bit of genetic engineering. And to think, this all came from a story about a desert planet and some very valuable spice. It's wild.
It's incredible to think that Dune, with all its depth and complexity, wasn't an instant success. In fact, it was rejected by a ton of publishers, like over 20. Can you believe that?
Over 20, you're kidding. It just goes to show you never know what's going to resonate with people.
Yeah, Dune really gained traction through word of mouth, people discovering it and telling their friends. It's a testament to the power of a good story.
It really is. And it makes you think about why Dune still matters all these years later. It's more than just spaceships and sandworms, right?
Oh, absolutely. It grapples with themes that are incredibly relevant today. Climate change, the dangers of unchecked power, the role of religion in society.
Not to mention the ethical questions surrounding technology and genetic engineering. Herbert was dealing with these issues decades ago, yet they feel even more urgent now.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, what would Herbert think about the world today?
Right. Okay, but back to Paul Atreides. He's at the center of all this. Does he become the hero, the savior, the Muad'Dib everyone expects, or does he succumb to the pressures of power?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And I think Herbert intentionally leaves it open to interpretation. Paul makes some tough choices, some that might be considered morally ambiguous. It challenges us to think about what we would do in his position.
It's easy to judge from the outside, but when you're facing those kinds of decisions with the fate of a planet on your shoulders, well, it's a lot more complicated.
It certainly is. And that ambiguity is part of what makes Dune so compelling. There are no easy answers. It makes you think. It stays with you.
It really does. So for anyone listening who hasn't experienced Dune yet, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to check it out.
And for those who've already read it, maybe it's time for a reread. I guarantee you'll pick up on new things, see it in a different light.
It's a book that rewards multiple readings, for sure. All right, that's our deep dive on Frank Herbert's Dune. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's so much more to explore.
Always is with a classic.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.